Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.
Shalom, 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 Yasharal and Yahudah, grafted in Gentiles into the body of Hamashiach. Listen, Babylon is falling. Listen, you have to understand that the times that we're living in are the last days. You have to be in this witness in order to escape this judgment. You have to be born again of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh. And I'm not talking about Christianity in the sense of this religion and its wicked practices. I'm talking about being born again of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh as Yahushua HaMashiach has commanded. Not Jesus. Yahushua HaMashiach, the son of Yahuwah, who brings Yeshua. And then in this salvation, right, the water and the blood, you have to be sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh truth. Yahuwah has given you an opportunity to receive the Ruach HaKodesh, which is your seal. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, you got to understand this. You got to understand this. Grafted in Gentiles into the body of Hamashiach, those who are in the Christian faith, you got to understand this. Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I pray that you would, by your Ruach HaKodesh, take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahuwah, I thank you for your Ruach HaKodesh, because you said, from my belly shall flow rivers of living waters, of which you spake of the Ruach HaKodesh. I thank you for the Ruach HaKodesh and signs that follow them that have received this witness. I give you praise. I pray that no one be turned out of the way, no one come up lame, no one caused to stumble by any word that I speak. I trust in Emunah that the words that I speak are Ruach, and they are from the HaKodesh Ruach. Yahuwah, I thank you in the name of Yahushua Mashiach for sealing me. I thank you, Yahuwah, for I have received the water baptism and the Ruach HaKodesh's baptism. I have received the blood of Yahushua and Emunah for the atonement of my sins. I give you praise. Yahuwah, I pray that this word would go forth unto those that would have an ear to hear, and that you would cause them to be quickened, made alive by your word. Yahuwah, I give you praise. I pray that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart would be acceptable in thy sight. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Listen, man of Yah, woman of Yah, you have to understand. You have to be sealed. You have to be in this witness. You have to receive the water, the blood, and the Ruach HaKodesh. Listen, you have to be born again. There's no way of getting around it. And again, you are going to hear me teach what Yahuwah has told me to preach and teach, to declare, right? Yahuwah told, matter of fact, listen, this morning, right, I was in the bed and Yahuwah woke me up. He said, I need you to get up and praise me and pray. So, I got up and went into my living room area, and I just started walking around the house and praying in the Ruach HaKodesh and praying with my understanding and singing in the Ruach HaKodesh and singing with my understanding. And Yahuwah said to me, listen, feed my sheep. He said, feed my sheep. He said, feed my lambs. He said that. Feed my sheep. Just like that. Feed my sheep. Feed my lambs. And I said, Yahuwah, I will do exactly what you want me to do. He said, feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. Feed my lamb. I know now more than ever, he has a word for his people by his Ruach HaKodesh. A word which he's told me to cry loud and to spare not, to lift up my voice like a trump in Zion, to feed the flock, to feed his sheep. Listen, you gotta understand this witness. Yahuwah has a people, right? Yahuwah has a people. Yahuwah has a people that he has chosen. And there are some right now that the angel is waiting to be sealed before he pour out judgment. Further judgment. He's waiting for the seal, for them to be sealed. He's waiting for you to receive this witness. He's waiting for you to receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. He's waiting for you to be born again. He's waiting for you to receive his name. He's waiting for you to receive Yah's salvation, his name. We're in Ezra, right? We're in the 8th chapter of Ezra still. And I'm going to do what Yahuwah told me to do, right? And if you have an ear to hear what Yahuwah has to say in Ezra, right? This world was made for many. But the eternal Yeshua, that Yahuwah has provided through faith in Yahushua Mashiach's witness, who receive his Besorah and his Torah of truth in Emunah. See, those people, the new earth and the new Shamayim is made for. A few. There are many that aren't going to receive this witness. There are many that are going to receive it and walk away. There are going to be many that have tasted of the goodness of Yahuwah's witness, his Ruach HaKodesh, and fall away. Had it not been the case, Shaul would have never said it. It would have never been in Shlomo. Right? Right? You have to understand that Yahusha's plan is to weed out, to sift out, thresh out. Those who are going to receive eternal life from those who are going to receive eternal separation. When he was talking to Ezra, Ezra was trying to wrap his head around why Yahuwah would go to such an extent to create man and then allow man to sin and then allow man to cause mankind, right? Adam's sin to cause mankind in its entirety, right, to be held under the bondage of this sin. And ultimately, because of this wickedness, right, not experience this Yeshua, right? But Yahuwah has made provisions for all men to receive this witness. He made provisions for everyone, even before Yahushua HaMashiach, who remained faithful to Torah, right? Who remained faithful in sacrifices, who remained faithful in obeying the commandments. He's made it possible for them to receive Yeshua. See, Ezra was in captivity with the nation under Babylon, experiencing the wickedness of the nation. And there were those that are in the nation that were in captivity that was turning or trying to turn and keep, Yahuwah's Torah. But there was a bunch of them that were wicked and just, they was assimilating into the culture. The world to come is made for a few. The world to come is made for a remnant. Right? Christianity would have you believe that, if you confess Yahushua HaMashiach, right, then you win. Right? No matter how much you sin, if you believe, you win. Right? Hence the reason why you see the behavior that permeates the Christian church, right? I was listening to I think it's called The Truth Unedited. Anyway, I was listening to it. He was talking about everything Christians need to know, right? Matter of fact, let me see what he was saying. But, let me see what we got here. Right. It was Messages, a truth that every Christian needs to hear. Right. Let's get the facts. He's on YouTube, right? And I think it's The Truth Unedited is the YouTube channel. Right? And I have a lot of Christian friends, acquaintances, right? Right. Because I was a teacher of Christian doctrine, right? In the sense that I did not believe in Christianity per se, right? I mean, I believed in Yahushua's word, Jesus' word, and the practical principles in it. But, I held for a long time to, you need not to spend time reading the original covenant. Just stay in the renewed covenant or the old covenant, Old Testament, New Testament. And I was a teacher. I was a pastor. I was a minister, right? I served in different capacities in Christianity. But I can remember the day that I realized that Yahuwah had established a people, right? And this people had been deceived, right? These people have been people had their identity taken, right? People were forced to accept this Christianity, this Catholicism. It morphed into denominationalisms. It morphed into all this other stuff, but its home, its origin is in Catholicism. And its diabolicalness of paganism. Right? I learned that this is not who I am. This is not who he is, Yahushua Mashiach. This is not Yahuah. Right? And I made it about faith. You know, to my Christian friends, I had one Christian friend reach out to me one time. You know, we talked on the phone. She didn't understand, you know, what I was in or what I was moving towards, and what I knew now as, you know, my heritage, you know, being Hebrew, and how I turned my back completely on Christianity, and how I went in hard against Christianity, right? Because I understood and began to learn and understand the deception that permeated Christianity, right? And you know, again, I heard this. I think it's truth unedited, and what I just told you, and I sent that to many as Christian friends as I could, or you know, people that I knew that would take it and share it with their Christian friends, or people that I knew that might have been Christians before and have come out of Christianity and have understood that the witness of Yahushua Mashiach ain't that. Right. Have to understand the deception is real. And Yahuwah is trying to bring you to a place of understanding this witness. Yahushua HaMashiach's being born again of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh, of the water and the Holy Spirit, the set-apart Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, and to be the witness, right? Right? To receive the witness and to be the witness, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. These witness, these testify to salvation. It testifies to being a part of Yahushua's kingdom. Excuse me. So Ezra didn't understand it as such. Ezra didn't have the Ruach HaKodesh of truth that we have. Dispensation of time had not permitted the revelation in the arrest of the Ruach HaKodesh to those who would receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, because Yahushua Mashiach had not been yet given and he had not been glorified. Therefore, the Ruach HaKodesh was not present in the arrest in the hearts of those who received the witness of Yahushua, right? So Ezra had questions. And of course, Yahuwah had answers. Yahuwah had answers. And when you understand Yahuwah has answers, and you can receive what Yahuwah has to say in Emunah, right? Then Yahuwah will provide you what you need, right? But you got to be born again with the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? So, let's go into Ezra. Now, I think we stopped at 47th verse. That 47th verse. Right. Now, I want to go back 10 verses before we proceed into past the 47th verse, because it has everything to do with Yahuwah's responses to some of the things that Ezra has said, right, in reference to Yahuwah and what Yahuwah's doing, right, and his perspective in relationship to what Yahuwah's doing, right? So Yahuwah says that here in the 37th verse, then answered he me and said, some things have you spoken right. Some of the things you said concerning me are right. Some of these things that you say aren't. Right? Right? And if you really want to understand the dialogue, you need to go back to that 8th chapter from the first verse and go to the 31st verse. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. Right? He says, then answered he me and said, some things have you spoken right, and according to your words it shall be. You spoken that right. And exactly what you said is what's going to happen. Right? Right? He says it's going to happen. Shall be. For indeed, I will not think on the dispensation of think on the dispensation of them which have sinned before death. I don't concern myself with sinners that have chose sin. Right? You gotta understand, Yeshua is the way to Yahusha. The way to Yahuwah through Yahusha. Right? Yeshua, salvation, forgiveness of sins. Right? If you don't place any particular concern with your Yeshua, then Yahuwah does not place any concern with you. If you find it pleasurable to remain in your sin before you die, up until the time you die, Yahuwah don't care about you. He said, for indeed I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before death. I am not going to take a second thought to those who have died in sin. Because you got to realize Yahuwah has made provisions. Even in Ezra's time, all you needed to do was turn the Torah. Right? Turn the Torah. Come to the high priest with an offering. High priest offers that offering, right? Now, in the land of their captivity, right, there was limitations. Right? Right? Limitations. Right? But Yahuwah put the priesthood back in order, Ezra, right? And reestablished, right, righteousness and sacrifices. Right? But there was a way, right, to turn. And you could turn to Yahuwah, and if you turned in obedience and kept Torah, right, then he preserved you. He considered you. Right? He says, listen. He says, for indeed I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before death, before judgment, or before destruction. I ain't gonna think about it, right? Because they made the choice. Before death, right? 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 Before judgment, right? I ain't gonna change my mind. Right? I'm not gonna change my mind. And before destruction. I'm not going to change my mind concerning sinners. Because they made a choice. Listen, Ezra was more concerned about the sins of the nation, and the sins of the nation were a direct consequence to their violation of Torah. They had Torah. They had a priesthood. They had judgments and statutes, right? They had these things. But they made choice to serve other else. And along with that came all this other debauchery, right? And this hatred towards Yahuwah and his love for these other elves. Sins. Everyone said, well, Yahuwah loved the sinner and hate the sin. No. Yahuwah has no disposition. He has no disposition for the sinner. We all gonna say, Yahuwah loves the sinner, but he hates the sin. What? Yahuwah's made angry at the wicked every day. Yahuwah's reserved judgment for them that hate him. Right? The sinners hate him. Okay. So let's go on. He said, but I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous, and I will remember also their pilgrimage and the Yeshua and the rewards they shall have. Yahuwah is going to remember those who keep Torah. Yahuwah's going to remember those who, through their life, pilgrimage, right, endured hardships, but persevered. Who endured tribulation, but persevered. Who endured sufferings, but persevered. Who received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach and realized tribulation was an ally and not an enemy. To those who in Torah kept the Torah, and when they sinned, they repented, and they came with a sacrifice. It was meat worthy of repentance. Listen. He's going to remember the Yeshua. Right? He's going to remember the Yeshua and the reward that they shall have. Right? He says, like as I have spoken now, so shall it come to pass. This world was made for the many. Right? Narrow is the way, and few there be that find it. Wide is the way to destruction. Many there be that'll find it. You have to understand that the world to come is only made for a remnant. Adam and Eve were that righteous remnant that Yahuwah had made the world for. But they yielded it. See it? Throughout it, you'll find that Yahuwah always refers to Adam as the one that had sinned. Right? Adam sinned. Not Hava, but Adam sinned because Yahuwah had given it to Adam. And when Adam had sinned, because it was Adam that he had made the original covenant with. You gotta understand. That brought sin on all mankind. Listen. The world to come was only made for a few. Yahuwah, during the time of Noah, saved a few and destroyed everyone else. Now, Lot preached that the whole time that he was building the ark. But they didn't receive him. Right? Yahuwah declared the word. They didn't hear it. Right? Judgment came on the many. But on the few, Yahuwah saved. Right? He did it once before. Right? Gonna do it again. Only a remnant, right, is going to be saved. Now, what you need to understand is that you need to be a part of the remnant. You need to be amongst those who receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, who has been born of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh. You need to be a part of this remnant. Right? You need to be amongst those who, and the Yeshua and the rewards they shall have. You need to be a part of that remnant. Right? He says, like as I have spoken now, so shall it come to pass. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground and plants many trees, and yet the things that is sown in the ground in its season come not up, neither doeth all that is planted take root. Even so it is them that are sown in the world. Listen. Yahuwah is this husbandman. He sows plants in the good soil. It's his soil. Right? He waters it. He cares for it. He tends to it. Right? Right? Because it's his creation. Right? Right now, he puts man in the earth. Man is to spring up and serve him. He gets planted in good ground, right? He gets his Besorah, his Torah of truth, right? Right? He understands the right and the wrong, right? He understands the Torah of Yahuwah, right? But he don't keep it, right? He don't keep it. He says, even so is it so them that are sown in the world, they shall not all produce fruit. They shall not all be saved. They shall not all receive Yeshua. He says here. And I answered that and said, if I found grace, let me speak. Like as a husband's seed perishes, if it comes not up and receives not your rain. Again, Esdras' assumption is that Yahuwah is not taking care of the garden. Right? So it receives not your rain in due season, or if it comes with too much rain, it corrupts it. Even so perishes man also, which is formed with your hands, and is called your own image, because you are like unto him. You are like unto him. Actually, he should be like unto you, right? You are like unto him, for whose sakes you have made all things, and likened him unto the husbandman's seed, but not wroth. Be not wroth with us, but spare your people, and have mercy upon your own inheritance, for you are merciful unto your creature. Right? So Ezra's like, okay, Yahuwah, these your people. Now, if you would have given them rain enough to grow, they might have been okay. But if you overwatered them, you gave them too much Torah. You came too strong with the Masora of the Torah. You might have lost them. Right. He says, even so, perish man also, which is formed with thine hands, and is called thine own image, because thou art like unto him. Yahuwah made man in his image. He didn't make man. He said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Right? Esdras says here, because thou art like unto him. No. You are or should be like unto Eluah, the Ruach, and the Word. Right? He says, for whose sake thou hast made all things and likened him unto the husbandman's seed. Okay, so you done made him in your image, right? You likened him unto the husbandman's seed. Right? Because he, husbandman is the caretaker. Right? And you have made man. You see, he says, be not wroth with us, but spare thy people. Have mercy on thine inheritance. So he's speaking, having Yahuwah have mercy on Yasharal, right? He ain't talking about everybody, right? He's talking about his people, Yahuwah's people, Yahuwah's heritage, right? For thou art merciful unto thy creature, right? You're merciful unto your creature, right? He says, then answered he me and said, things present are for the present, and things to come are for the things to come. That's what There's things that you are undergoing and you're experiencing now in your dispensation in time. It's for your dispensation in time. Right? There are things to come. The witness of Yahushua Mashiach, the dominion of Yahushua, being established in the Eretz, him taking the keys of death, hell, and the grave. They still are yet to have occurred. There are things that are yet to be done, right? He said, for thou comest far short, you, Ezra, that thou should be able to love my creature more than me. You look, Ezra, you may think that, you love the people of Yahuwah more than Yahuwah. Right? You may think that because, you amongst the people. Right. You witness their pain and the suffering of your people. Right? And, you empathize, right? Sympathize and empathize with your people. Right? But listen, they my people. Yasharal and Yehuda. They're called by my name. They're my people, right? You can't love my people more than me. You can't understand my people more than me. You can't even begin to fathom the plan that I have put in place to provide Yeshua for my people. For that remnant. For that faithful few. For that number that'll get into the ark. He said, listen. For thou comest far short, that thou shouldst be able to love my creature more than I. But I have oftentimes drawn nigh unto thee, and unto it, but never to the unrighteous. You coming far short, right, of loving my people, Yasharal and Yahudah. Right. My people. You come far short of loving my people. Right? Right. See, now I have oftentimes, Yahuwah says, I've drawn nigh to my people. Right? I've drawn nigh to my people. Right? Because, I show mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. I draw near to them. Because they love me and obey my commandments. Right? But listen, understand this. I never draw near to the unrighteous. Yahuwah never draws near to the unrighteous, to the sinners, those who do unrighteousness. He doesn't draw nigh to them, right? They have to come to him. And then they got to come to him with meat worthy of repentance. They have to come to him with a sacrifice. Right? Apart from them coming to him with an offering, with a sacrifice, meat worthy of repentance. Right? He says, never do I draw near to the unrighteous. Never do I draw near to the unrighteous. So unrighteous can't get anything from you. That's why, you got these movie stars and these actresses that are Christians. They say they're Christians and they pray to the Lord and they thank the Lord for all they've gotten. As if Yahuwah is drawing nigh to them. He's not drawing nigh to them. It's not. It's not. Yahuwah has no fellowship with unrighteousness. Yahuwah doesn't participate in your diabolical, sinful nature. You can't make a song about Jesus, right? And say that you have a relationship with Yahuwah. Yahuwah says here to Ezra, I don't draw nigh unto the unrighteous. See, that's why. You ain't going to escape. Babylon is falling. You are not going to escape. If you don't have this baptism of the Ruach HaKodesh, you are not going to escape. If you don't possess this witness, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood, you are not going to escape this judgment. He does not draw nigh to you. Right, now listen. There's a place where Yahuwah's mercy, even amongst those who are in Christianity, right? His mercy is long-suffering. It's available. Right? But when the recognition comes and you hear a word that causes you to recognize that you need to change and you don't, you can sit in that Christian atmosphere all day long, on Sunday morning, on Tuesday Bible studies, and just singing the Hellenist choir. You can do all of that service. And Yahuwah ain't drawing nigh to the wicked. Listen, Yahuwah ain't drawing nigh to Sunday service. Yahuwah is not drawing near to a Sunday worship day. It's unrighteous. No matter how many scriptures you read, it don't matter what he ain't drawing nigh. It's unrighteous. It's a violation of his Torah. Okay, let's go. We're trying to get to this. He says, verse 28. Now we're moving into where we left off. He says, and this also art thou marvelous before the Most High. Right? In this also thou art, Ezra, marvelous before the Most High. Right? Because you draw near to him. You draw near to Yahuwah. You pray to Yahuwah. You enter into this perpetual relationship with Yahuwah. Right? You fast 7 days. Right? You present yourself before Yahuwah. And you know, some of the things that you say are right. Some of the things you say, nah. Right? But you draw nigh to him. Right? He says here, in that thou hast humbled thyself, Ezra, as it cometh thee. You've humbled yourself. Right? You didn't come exalting your righteousness over your brother's righteousness, over the nation's righteousness. Right? He says, listen, in that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be more glorified than among the righteous. You haven't even exalted yourself amongst the righteous. Right? Right? You gotta understand. This way is a righteous way. This way is a humble way. This way is a way that recognizes that the only way to pleasing Yahuwah is having faith in Yeshua. You have to believe that Yahuwah has provided what he has said. Abraham staggered not at the promises of Allah through unbelief, but he was strong in Emunah, being fully persuaded that what Yahuwah had said he was well able to do. You have to understand that you have to be persuaded that this witness is everything to you, for you. You have to understand that there is no other Yeshua. But then you have to understand this, and you got to live this, right? Ezra, he says here, thou hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. For many great mysteries shall be done to them, that in the latter times shall dwell in the world. Right? See, because great miseries. Right? For many great miseries shall be done unto them. Great miseries. Great miseries. Right. Hung from a tree. Great miseries. Castrated. Great miseries. Right. Raped. Sodomized. Great miseries. Hands chopped off, feet chopped off. Great miseries. Great miseries. Children sold, never to see their families again. Great miseries. Mothers' children are ripped from them. Great miseries. Being burned at the stake. great miseries, suffering under the hands of the Belgians, the French, the Dutch, the Spaniards. Great miseries, great atrocities. Ezra, you haven't even begun to see the miseries that are going to befall your people. He says, for many great miseries shall be done to them, that in the latter times shall dwell in the world. Right? Because they have walked in great pride. We have Abraham as our father. You shall Mashiach, please. Great pride. Pride goeth before destruction. The haughty spirit before a fall. The nation. Yah's people. Him who Ezra is praying on behalf of. Right? People are going to receive the witness. Yahushua came to his own, but his own received him not. But to as many as did receive him. Right? He came to his own, but only them that received him. To them gave he power to be the sons of the Lord. In that dispensation, in that time. Right? In that week. Ezra, he says, but understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like you. Listen, understand what's for yourself, right? This Yeshua. And to seek out people like you. Seek out people who wants and who is in this witness. Especially when you see that day approach. Know who are in the witness of Yahushua with you. Right? Seek them out. Right? He says, but understand thou for thyself and seek out the glory for such as be like you. Seek it out for those who be like you. Don't worry about the disposition of the sinners, because I don't. Before death, before judgment, for destruction, I do not care about the sinner. I show mercy to them that love me and keep my commandments. He says, where's that in Exodus? He says in Exodus 5, thou shalt not bow down thyself nor serve them. He's talking about other elves, right? For Yahuwah, thy Eluah, is a jealous Eluah, visiting the iniquities upon the fathers of the children to the third and fourth generation, to him that hate him. So Yahuwah visits the iniquities of the fathers unto the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate him. And you hate Yahuwah when you don't keep his Torah. When you don't keep his Torah and you live in constant violation of the Torah of truth, then you are a sinner. You are in iniquity. And he does not visit you. He does not regard you, because he recognizes that the world is made for the many, right? But the world to come is made for the few. And the few, he gonna show mercies to, right? Thousands. of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thousands. He'll show mercy. He says here, for unto you is paradise open. Right? It's open for you. Right? The tree of life is planted for you. Right? The time to come is prepared. The plenteousness is made ready. A city is built, and rest is allowed, yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. You must be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. You must receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. You must receive Yah's salvation. You must be born again. Yasharah, you are Yahuwah's firstborn. Right? You are Yahuwah's firstborn. Listen. When Yahushua told Nicodemus, he was speaking to Nicodemus, who was a Jew. He was a Yahudi. Right? When he told Nicodemus, you must be born again. Right? Nicodemus should have known that he was Jacob's firstborn. Right? Jacob was Yahuwah's firstborn. Jacob needed to be born over again. Jacob needed to experience a new birth. See, it was a renewed covenant for Yasharal and Yahudah. It was a new covenant for the Gentiles. It's a new testament for the Gentiles. They didn't have this covenant. They have this testament. Right? You have to be born of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to experience a baptism, a putting of the old and putting on a new. Right? You have to put off the old man and put on the new man, symbolically. Right? You just had to do it. In our culture, it was a ceremonial washing. Right? We had to go and wash before we presented before you. Right? We had to wash. But to be born again, you need to go down and come up and be raised in the righteousness. See, we were born again because we were Yahuwah's firstborn. Yahuwah, through Yahushua Mashiach, came to the lost sheep of Yasharal to cause them to be born again, to cause them to renew a covenant. He came to them. They didn't receive him. But many of them did. As many as did receive him. As many as received him. He gave them power to be the sons of Yahuwah, that believed on his name. In this witness is paradise made for. Eternal life. We have this heritage, right? He says here in Ephesians 1:13, in whom ye also trusted after ye heard the word of truth, the Basora of your Yeshua, in whom also after that ye believed, you were sealed. You believed, you were sealed. You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh of promise, right? Which is the down payment, the earnest of your inheritance. Your inheritance is what Yahuwah has made available to you in paradise. Your inheritance. That city, right? until the redemption of the purchased possession, until the redemption of that which was purchased by the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, the redemption of the witnesses of the witness, the redemption of those who received the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood, right? Right, which is his purchased possession, to the praise of his glory, right? So he says here in Ezra, he says, for unto you is paradise is open. Ezra, right? Right, because you're chaste, because you have chosen to take this word and to declare this word. You have prayed on behalf of your people. Right? Yeah, see, this is made for you, right? I've often come and visited you and visited them, right? He said, this paradise is open. This tree of life, right? This tree of life. The time to come is prepared, right? Plenteous is made ready. A city is built, and rest is allowed. Shabbat. Rest. Yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. Perfect goodness and wisdom. See, and everybody ain't gonna make this their home. Everybody's name is not gonna be in the book of life. There's some people whose name has been blotted out. There's some people's name ain't been written in. See, I'm in the book of life because I've received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. I've been born again of the water, Ruach HaKodesh, because I have the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. It's the earnest of my inheritance. My name is written. He said, listen. He said, the root of evil is sealed up from you. See, you in this. The root of evil is sealed up. Yahushua has delivered me from sin and death. He has quickened me, has made me alive, who was once dead in trespasses and sins. In times past, as I walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, that Ruach, that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Listen, he delivered me from evil. Sealed me up. Right? Weakness and the moth is hidden from you. And corruption is fled into hell for hell to be forgotten. This is for the righteous. Overcome. He's overcome by the blood of the Lamb, by the words of our witness. We overcome. Yahushua has took the keys of death and hell. He removed the sting of death and hell. I am no longer slated for eternal destruction. I am no longer slated for the lake of fire. Pass from death to life. I have chosen life that I might live. Yahushua HaMashiach is that life. He says here, for the root of evil is sealed up from you. Weakness and the moth of hidden from you. Corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrow is past, and the end is shewed the treasures of immortality because of the witness. Yahushua took keys of death and hell. The witness. He established his dominion forever. He selected righteousness from an everlasting plan of righteousness. We are his people who have received his witness. Right? We are his people that receive his witness. He says, listen, sorrow is past. Right? Right? Because he's going to wipe every tear from our eye. Don't mean we ain't going to cry now. Right? But we in the witness. At the end of the day, when everything, when the new heaven and new earth is established, listen, even when Yahushua comes back, right, to take dominion in the Eretz and reign for a period of time in the Eretz, look, we gonna be happy. We gonna be crying. We gonna be worshiping. We gonna be magnifying. We gonna be having tears of rejoicing. He says, and therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitudes of them that perish. Don't ask no more questions about the people that are about to die. Right? You're gonna die. Don't ask no questions about the people that are gonna die. Because I don't care about the disposition of them. He says, this is why. For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High. Through scorn of his Torah, they forsook his way. They didn't receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. They weren't born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. They didn't have the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach that cleansed them of unrighteousness and was that sacrifice that took away their sins. They didn't have that. They didn't keep the words of Yahushua. You said, if you love me, you'll keep my words. Keep my commandments. He said, I've kept the Father's commandments. I've kept the Father's words. I am the Torah of Yahuwah made flesh. Got to keep the Torah. That's why in Christianity, you got to keep the Torah. He says, ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish, for when they had taken liberty, when they had the opportunity to serve me and obey my commandments and keep my Torah with faith in Hamashiach, they didn't do it. Revelations, is it 14:12? Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah. Revelation 14:12. It says, and here is the patience of the Kodashim. Here is the patience of them that are in the witness. Those that have been born again of the water of Ruach HaKodesh. Those who have the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood, right? The witnesses. Here is the patience. This is what they have been doing patiently, right? Waiting for the revelation of the promise. Waiting for the inheritance of the promise. Waiting for Yahushua's return. Waiting for the establishment of the kingdom of Yahuwah, the new heaven and the new earth. This is how they patiently demonstrated, right? They kept Yahuwah's commandments, right? And faith in Yahushua. They kept his commandments, right? Because the Torah was given first, right? Right. And Yahushua Mashiach came and fulfilled that. And they had faith in Yahushua Mashiach's witness because that brought the forgiveness of sins, the cleansing of sins, and gave way to the Ruach HaKodesh, the spirit of Yahuwah and Yahusha coming to be on the inside of you, therefore making you his because he's in you. The patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elu, the commandments of Yahuwah, and have faith in Hamashiach Yahushua. Ezra. He says it this way. For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High and scorned his Torah and forsook his way. Faith in the Mashiach. Yahushua says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Yahushua, the way. It's the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by him. It's the way. Make no mistake about it. He is Torah. Right? Right? But you got to keep the Torah and have faith in the way. The blood atonement. The high priest forever at the order of Melchizedek. See, Yahshua and Yehuda, this is who we are. Right? This is who we are. We understand Yahushua has to be that high priest because we don't have one. We understand that he has to be that lamb because we don't have one. Right? We understand it has to be Yahushua because there's no more physical temple on the Eretz. There's only the one that can satisfy his atonement in the Shamayim. You see, Hebrews, culturally, we understand this. We should understand this. Right? He is that high priest forever. After the order of Melchizedek, we have to understand the necessity of this witness. He said, forsook the way. Yahushua is the way. Prophetic. He said, moreover, they have trodden down the righteous. Is righteous. Trodden them down. They destroyed and persecuted the righteous. Listen. When you consider all of the prophets and those that serve Yahuwah and their fate as they stood in testament and testimony to the Messiah and the Torah of truth of Yahuwah, Shaul, Peter, James, John, Stephen, right? Netanyahu, right? You consider these people, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, right? Hosea, all of the prophets, they suffered. Even Job suffered. Didn't give up his faith in Yahuwah. They were all in. They understood that they had an eternal reward. They were trodden down, right? And said in their hearts that there is no Eluah, yea, and that knowing they must die. Talking about the people that did his prophets wrong. The people that don't keep his Torah. People who don't receive his Yeshua. Right? Right? They must die. They had to die during Noah's time. And only four men and their wives were saved. You gotta understand, man, this is made for the few. Listen, we gotta cry loud and spare not, lift up our voice like a trumpet Zion. That's what I do. Right? That's what I do. That's what this platform is for. Right? Crying loud, sparing not, lifting up my voice like a trump, and I do it according to the way you has told me to do it. Right? It's for a few. This witness is for a few. Mama and them may not even receive this. Sisters and them, brothers and them may not even receive this. In-laws, wives, husbands, they may not receive this. May not receive. It's for the few. It's for the few. You know. For the few. For the few. Right? My kids, right, they know. Right? That I serve Yahuwah. They know that they're going to be accountable. Right? Right? Stop them from going out and celebrating Halloween and buying costumes. It ain't made for them all. It ain't made for the many. It's made for the few. Does that grieve me? Yeah. But you know what? Yahuwah has made me like Flint. I really think he's made me like Flint. Right? Where, I'm not just, I just know what his word says, and I just know Yahuwah gonna do what he gonna do. Right? What if they don't make it? Does that change the Yahuwah allure of glory? Is he less merciful? No, because if he demonstrated his mercy towards me, he can demonstrate it to them. But For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High, scorned his Torah, and forsook his way. He says, and said in their hearts that there is no allure, yea, and that knowing they must die. He says, for as for the aforesaid shall receive you, so thirst and pains are prepared for them. For it was not his will that men should come to naught. It's not what he originally planned. But man, he made choices. And Yahuwah's going to hold them to it. He ain't going to mourn them. Right? He's going to rejoice over the righteous, but over the wicked, he ain't going to care. Right? He says, for it was not his will that men should come to naught, but they which be created have defiled the name of him that made them. How did they do it? How did they do it? They did it. I am Yahuwah thy Eluah, Exodus 22, which have brought thee out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other else before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in the Shamaim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that which is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am Yahuwah thy Eluah. I am a jealous Eluah, Yahuwah, visiting the iniquities of the fathers unto the children, to the third and fourth generation. He said, but listen, I show mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Right? See? You shall not take Yahuwah thy Eluah's name in vain. Right? For Yahuwah Eluah will not hold him guilty to take his name in vain. Right? These are things that you can't do. Right? Right? You got to remember the Shabbat and keep it holy. Not Sunday. Not because Constantine decided to move the Shabbat to Sunday. Right. That diabolical, the world became darkened. He says, 6 days shall thy labor and do all thy work, but on the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahuwah thy Eluah. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thy sons, nor thy daughters, thy manservants, thy maidservants, thy cattle, thy strangers, and anything in thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heavens and the earth, and the sea, and all that in them in, and rested the seventh day, whereof Yahuwah blessed the Shabbat day and hallowed it. Right, so you have, not having no other else before them, right? Not taking Yahuwah's name in vain, and the Shabbat. The first three commandments incorporated the first 11 verses of Yahuwah's commandments. Right? And then, of course, he says, honor thy father and thy mother, that your days may be long upon the earth. He says, And thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not lust after thy neighbor's house, lust after thy neighbor's wife, lust after thy neighbor's manservant, maidservants, ox, asses, or anything that belongs to their neighbor. He said, no, lust, covet, and lust are synonymous. He says, and all the people saw. So, what you got to do, right? You got to obey Yahuah's core of his commandment, but you can't do it until you become born again. You got to be born again in order to keep his commandments, right? So you why? He says here in Ezekiel 36:25, I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be cleansed from your filthiness. And from your idols will I cleanse you. Water. Going to the water of the Ruach HaKodesh baptism. Right? And a new heart. A new heart comes through the blood of Yahushua Mashiach. It cleanses you. It gives you a new heart. Right? A new heart also will I give you, and a new Ruach will I put in you. You're going to put in a clean Ruach, right? Right? And I will take away the stony heart, right? Out of your flesh, and I will give you a new heart of flesh, right? And because of this newness of heart, because of being cleansed from sin, being purged from filthiness, right? Verse 27, I will put my Ruach HaKodesh within you, right? And cause you, by me putting my Ruach HaKodesh in you, right? To walk in my statutes, right? And to keep my judgments and do them, right? This is what you was going to do, right? That's what comes, right? When we submit ourselves unto you, right? He says, let me see. And he said, their hearts, that there is no Alua, yea, and that knowing it they must die. As for the things aforesaid shall receive you, so thirst and pine and prepare for them, for it was not his will that men should come to naught, right? But they which be created have defiled the name. They defiled the name. They defiled the name of Yahuwah by worshiping other else. They defiled the name by profaning the name and taking this Christianity and this Jesus worship and this Lord and God worship, like taking it and profaning it and spreading it. Right? Defiled his name. And were unthankful unto him which prepared life for him. They defiled the name of Yahushua Mashiach. And we're not thankful. And he was prepared for them. Yahushua said, I am the light of the world. Yahushua brought life to those who received the witness. Because you were dead in sin. But he brought life. He says, and therefore is my judgment now at hand. Right. Yahuwah's judgment is at hand. Yahuwah's judgment is at hand. Yahuwah's judgment is at hand. Hear my bird? My bird always shows up when I start teaching. I don't hear him no other time. He ain't my bird. He's outside my window. But he always shows up when that's Yahuah's visitation. Listen. His judgment is at hand. Babylon is falling. You must be sealed with the Ruach of Yahuah. You must be sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuah. He says here, these things have I showed unto all men. These things have I not shown unto all men, but unto thee and a few like thee. Then answered I and said, behold, O Yahuah, now hast thou showed me the multitudes of thy wonders, which thou wilt begin to do in the last times. Right? But at what time thou hast not showed me? Yahuah showed these things to Ezra. Showed them for everybody at the time, at his time. Right? He says, these things have I not shown unto all men, but unto thee and a few like thee. Daniel. Yehukanah. Of course. Enoch. Behold, Yahuah, now hast thou showed me the multitudes of thy wonders. Showed me the multitudes of thy wonders, which thou will begin to do in the last days. We are in the last days. Yahuah is in the end of the 7th week in Enoch's book of Enoch. He's establishing righteousness from an everlasting plan of righteousness. He's making selection. Are you sealed? Have you been born again of the water of Ruach HaKodesh? Are you sealed? Man of Yah, woman of Yah, that's the entire 8th chapter of the book of Ezra. We'll move into the 9th chapter tomorrow if Yahuah says the same. Ooh, excuse me. Listen. I love Yahuah. And I counted a blessing to be numbered amongst those that are his. Those that have received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. Those whose name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Right? I consider myself blessed. If you have received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, consider yourself blessed. Yahuwah, I praise you for your word. I magnify you for your word. I thank you, Yahuwah, for the word that you have given me. You told me to feed the sheep, feed the lamb. Feed the sheep, feed the sheep, feed the lamb. Feed the sheep, feed the sheep, feed the lamb. You told me to cry loud, to spare not, to lift up my voice like a trump in Zion, to warn your people that they must be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh, that they must have this witness, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood in them. Yahuwah, I pray that every word that I speak would be spirit and life to them, that it would strengthen them and reassure them and bless them. Yahuwah, seal them with your Ruach HaKodesh truth. Let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness, woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. Today, Yahuwah favors you. Listen, if this word has been a blessing to you, share this word with a friend or a loved one. Share this one with an enemy. Just share the word. Yahuwah is trying to wake up Yasharal and Yahudah, but Yahuwah is also waking up the other nations among whom he has chosen. There are their people that Yahuwah has called out from among the other nations. Share this word with them and let them be blessed. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, that's all I got. We're going to do it again tomorrow if all things being equal. Trusting in Yahuwah's word and his witness. So with that I say, listen, shalom, shalom, shalom. Be blessed.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.